Hey guys, I wanted to make a video here and show you what's going on with this Kettler Coach M machine of mine. I've been having a problem with the recoil mechanism where when you'd pull this, it worked fine, but the recoil would have this strange rumble to it. And I started looking around to see if I could find anything on YouTube or on the internet, and there really wasn't anything out there. I saw a couple videos of guys that were having a problem where it looked like it was the same thing, but it progressed further to the point where when they would pull this, the recoil would actually create slack. And so the machine was really not even usable anymore. And I kind of wanted to get in there and maybe fix it before it got to that point. And it was fairly simple. The only tools that I needed were a socket wrench and a 13mm socket, 13mm wrench, 10mm socket, flathead screwdriver, and a Phillips head. I have the extension out because it made it a little bit easier to get into a couple spots, but you could do it without the extension. So let me go ahead and I'll flip back here and show you guys what we're working with. So in the housing here, you can see this is obviously the magnetic wheel that controls resistance, and this is the other side to it, magnetic plate. And this plate is controlled by the dial on the front, and as you twist the dial, it lowers or raises this, and then it's obviously spring-loaded. So that's pretty simple, and I was surprised by how simple of a mechanism that is. So what I am thinking was going on, because it was kind of one of those things where it's kind of like when you take your car to the mechanic and it's making a noise, and then you get there and it won't make the noise. It's kind of like that, where once I got this thing all torn down, it worked perfectly, and I even did a workout on it, and there was no problem. So what I think what was happening, and it's just a hunch from deductive logic, I think that this bungee here, which controls the recoil mechanism, I think what happened, you can see those little channels there, little grooves. Well, I think what happened is that the bungee might have jumped over one channel and started interfering with this black nylon cord here. Because watch this, when you pull it, you can see that it recoils that bungee cord and extends the black nylon cable. And the recoil system is really simple, actually. It's just, the whole thing is basically just powered by this bungee cord. It starts right here, and they tied a knot and then slipped it into that little groove. And then it runs the length of the machine to right here. And you can see there's a little pulley, and then it goes back down to the other side to where I showed you before, and links up right here. Really simple. I was actually surprised. The whole machine is fairly simple, and that's the point of the video, really, is that I wanted to show that Kettler, they make it sound like you need to have some professional tech come in and service your machine, and that's BS. This thing's easy. One of the other things that I could see needing maintenance is this. I'm assuming there's a bearing inside there. You can see that there's grease, just a little bit of grease. You can kind of see. Let me see if I can get my flashlight in the right angle. I don't know if you can tell, but a little bit of grease right there. Looks like it might be lithium grease or something, but that also wouldn't be terribly difficult to do yourself if you wanted to grease this thing for maintenance. There's just two nuts, one there and one there, that you have to undo. Probably have to undo a little bit of the tension on the line here, and then you can just slip this thing straight out. Same with these little pulleys here. Just a bolt that goes through, and nut holds it on. You can slip those out. hopefully Kettler didn't make these bearings some weird size where you have to order it from the company or something. It's a German company though, so I don't know if any of you guys ever owned a German car. I haven't, but I know that they do all kinds of dumb stuff like that, so that you have to order from them. But anyway, the mechanism itself, like I said, super simple, super easy. Hopefully this will empower some of you who are having similar issues as I am. And I'm not a mechanic. I just like tinkering with stuff and seeing how it works. I feel like if you're in any way, shape, or form mechanically inclined here, you could do this. If you can change the brake pads on your car, you could easily do this. I'll show you guys what the front looks like as well. There's a little plastic housing that holds the digital readout. That digital readout's really easy to get out. You just stick a screwdriver in there, flathead screwdriver, and gently pry that out. That said, this is pretty cheap plastic, so if you're going in there heavy-handed, you're gonna bust this thing all up, and you don't have to. It's really easy to get apart. There's just maybe a dozen or so screws that you have to take out, and then you can take a flathead screwdriver, and there's little clips along the sides. You just stick it in there and pry down, and it just pops right off. It's really easy. So you definitely don't need to use a bunch of force. I'll show you guys what this other side looks like. So here is the mechanism that controls the resistance. On the other side of this is the little dial, and there's just some plastic gears down there. Let me see if I can get you can kind of see the edge of them. Just a couple little plastic gears in there. And so when you turn this, what happens is that it pulls this cable, and that's what raises and lowers that magnetic plate inside the machine. And the one thing that I will say, and it's not difficult, but it can be kind of a bugger getting this plate back on, because there's a little notch in this that slips into that plastic gear, and if you don't line it up just right, these screws, the housings for these screws, they won't butt up, and you'll have a little gap there. So just make sure that you've got this little notch lined up properly. This digital readout, super simple. There's just 3 cables that go in there, and then, like I said, you can just pry it out with a flathead screwdriver. I actually took the back of this off as well. I don't know why, just out of curiosity. I took the back of that, just 4 screws. I just kind of wanted to see what the electronics in there look like. Again, super simple, super basic stuff. One other thing that's pretty obvious, but I'll just say it anyway, is that when you take this thing apart, and I'll mention that I didn't get this new, so I don't have any of the manuals. So I was careful as I took it apart. I didn't buy it new. I actually got this in exchange for teaching a ski lesson. But if you have the manual, I guess there's a little diagram, I think, because this thing doesn't come fully assembled. So you probably have a better understanding going into the project than I did of how this thing's all pieced together. A couple little obvious things. These foot pedals, they have to come off, and then the bar that's holding them on, you got to slide that out so you can get the plastic sides off. Same thing with these black footings here. Those have to come off in order to get the plastic off the sides. And that's about it. Everything else is really simple and easy and straightforward. So hopefully this will give you some modicum of confidence going into this project, because like I said, I couldn't find anything that was helpful, and half the stuff you find online, more than half of the stuff, probably 70% of the stuff you find online, it's in German, so it's not really helpful if you're an English speaker like myself. So anyways, that's about it. Good luck.